I find it utterly fascinating that normal people require leaks in order to figure out that a game is bad. This leads me to assume that either normal people do not know the power of the stereotype in order to predict the future, or they do not manage to stereotype properly, because it's an art form to stereotype. So whenever I see a video game coming out and they have leftist dog whistles in it, like the very first thing that is being presented to me, the very first thing is not about the world or the story or the plot line. No, it's a lesbian kiss that goes around for over 1 minute in a trailer. This tells me that these are far leftist bigots that have infiltrated the company, and they're going to drive people insane at the workplace. Which goes to show that I'm right. Like, the Naughty Dog has a 70% turnover rate. Like, can you imagine this? Like, call centers probably have more people sticking around than the Naughty Dog. Like, how can you work at a game as a developer if the moment you get there, you have to take care of someone else's work? Like, you don't start from ground up. You have to take where someone else has left. And then you have to also suffer the very hostile and toxic work environment that these far leftist bigots create. It's not the fact that, like a game has a lesbian kiss. Like, that's fine. But the problem is, does your company have far left lunatics or not? The answer is yes. Well, it's obviously not a good place to work at. It's such a bad place to work. It's such a horrible place to work that they force people, if they want their last paycheck, to sign an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, which doesn't talk about the IP, or not to talk about the projects that the companies work, because that would be common sense. No, it's like the working conditions. Like, they're not allowed to talk about the working conditions or the reason they decided to quit. That is, like, I'm going to assume, if you're going to do that, I'm going to assume that your company is literally hell on earth. Like, you probably have barbed wire fences there, and like a big Arbeit Max Frei, or like the Soviet Gulag Archipelago is in there. Because if you're not allowing people to tell others how the working conditions are, and you're forcing them to sign a contract, like, I am willing to assume that it is so bad that you are actually paying people to shut up. So yeah, like, when you see these things at a company, in what world do you think the game is going to be good? Like, just what a person do you need to be actually be excited about this game? And then it's the second thing that is a big tell. When you have a video game that is coming out and there's no gameplay footage or no trailers of it, that's a big warning sign. Right there. Like, if it's 1 month until the game is released and you still don't have, like, more than a trailer or some gaming footage from months ago, that's a big reveal that there is a problem. Because you will see gaming companies that are satisfied with the product and they're making a genuine good game. They want to share it around. They want to show it to people. They bring journalists and it's like, oh, put this on your website. Oh, look, let's give some CD keys and beta giveaways to streamers and whatnot so they can show you the game. And The Last of Us, as far as I know, has only one gameplay footage from E3. That's it. Which, yeah. So I didn't need leaks to tell me that this game is going to be garbage. It's going to be utter garbage. And I haven't watched the leaks yet, but now I understand that Sony is going DMCA crazy all over the internet, just not just on YouTube. Like, they're trying to cancel people from talking about it on Reddit. They're canceling people from talking about it from websites, like normal publication. But worse is, like, they're DMCA people on YouTube. Now, when you file a DMCA, when you want to take down a video, what you're doing is that you're saying that under penalty of perjury, you claim that the DMCA is on goodwill. Like, you're aware that this content belongs to you, and you're not doing it, like, for example, to silence people or to take down a video you don't like. So what happens is that the company files the DMCA under penalty of perjury, and then the person that receives the DMCA can file an appeal. But basically this means you dox yourself, like you have to give your address and whatnot. So then you file an appeal, and then the company can sue you if they want. But what I understand is happening now, and this has happened to several YouTubers, they're basically saying that they just talked about the subject. They didn't show images or footage or anything like that. It was just them talking in front of a screen, and they got DMCA'd for that. That's illegal. That is a big no-no. But Turns out that it wasn't Sony or Naughty Dog doing it. It was third-party companies operating based on Naughty Dog. Like, Naughty Dog allowed them. And a lot of people are pointing out that they might be shell companies. Like, you look at these companies and they're changing directors as fast as they change toilet paper. Like, it's just a company name that's very shady. And these companies are going around the internet striking down on behalf of Sony Entertainment all of these all of these Last of Us videos that talk negatively about the game. So it's going to be interesting. But again, if it would happen to me, I would definitely sue. Like, I would just, and you don't even have to sue. Like, the way it works, as I mentioned, the company gives you the takedown for the video. I would dox myself. I don't care. It's like, okay, this is my address. I believe that the video that I uploaded belongs to moi. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? The only thing that they can do is to sue me. Good luck with that. Good luck with an international lawsuit with the Romanian. Yeah, it's definitely going to work great, especially since I still have friends at law school that would work for me pro bono. I think. I don't know. I would have to ask them. You know, see how many of them are specialized into intellectual property. But maybe I will find a couple. If not, if worse comes to worse, I will just do a Kickstarter and pay for the lawsuit. But no, like this is the worst thing that they can do. Why? Because this is the exact thing that I keep saying about the get woke, go broke. It's not the wokeness that does the brokenness. It's the moment that you push something onto the consumer and the consumer doesn't like it, you censor the dissent. You censor the criticism. You make sure that you do everything in your power to cancel all discussions and all conversations. And this is bad. Because now gamers are going to not buy your game based on principle. Like, there might be a couple of gamers that legitimately would have bought your game because they're bored, or because they don't hear about the controversy, or because they just want to laugh at it, or maybe they legitimately like the game. But when they see that you're turning against them, and you're making it absolutely sure that they can't even talk about it, then out of principle, a lot of people are just going to say, no, I'm not going to buy your game. But you know what's fascinating? Like, all these progressive companies, and in tandem with the media, they're constantly saying that gamers are sexist, misogynists, and all the isms and the phobias and like all of that. Then why are you selling them woke shit and expect them to buy it? They're racist. Sell them some racist stuff. They'll buy that. It's like, how does this make sense from a business perspective? Like, if you want to make money, seriously, please explain to me. Like, if I were to be a person that sells punk rock to people, and I look at the type of people that listen to punk rock, mostly anarchists, people that are against the man and the system, why would I sell them something authoritarian? Like, it would make absolutely no sense. Like, if I were to make Christian music into punk rock, who's going to buy that? Who is going to pay for that? Because that's not what the genre has made as an audience. And the idea that, oh, you can just replace the audience, you can shift the audience, yeah, good luck with it. Like, the audience doesn't come like that overnight. It's more likely you're going to go bankrupt and you're going to end up without making cash than to change people's mind. Like, it doesn't even work that way. Maybe if it was a free product, maybe if it was something that you don't have to pay for it, people would be willing to listen. But when I have to choose between picking up a game that has a woman looking like it's going to correct me on the pronouns and a game with a Japanese waifu, I would pick the Japanese waifu 10 out of 10. Like, the only hope you would have would be to censor the Japanese waifu from me so that literally your game is the only one that I can buy, and then pray that I'm so bored that I have absolutely nothing to do but to play your stinking game. That's literally how you can change the market. My God. No, but this is the communist way of thinking, legit. Like, under the USSR, this is how communists thought. It's like, okay, we can force people. Like, put the carriage in front of the horse and then beat the horse until it pushes that carriage. It's like, yes, we're going to force the market onto people. And people are going to buy it because they have no other choice. No matter how bad or broken the product is, if there's nothing else available, they're going to have to purchase it. And it's funny, like, the shill media, the mainstream media, the gaming mainstream media is so predictable. Like, they are now just the PR arm of Sony and Naughty Dog. They're literally like the PR arm. It's fascinating because instead of talking about the fact that Naughty Dog is going around DMCAing people that don't deserve it, like people who don't show any image or any footage of their game, they're now talking about, the leaks didn't come from the insiders. No, the leaks came from a hacker. How on earth do you know? Oh, it's because Sony said so. Oh, and you're willing to believe them. Is that a police investigation? Like, do you not think that maybe the people at Sony have a vested interest? Like, there's a conflict of interest going on, and between saying, yeah, we abuse our workers so bad that they now are pushing leaks just to hurt us, or would it be more convenient for them to say, oh, we got hacked? No, our workers here are treated very well. Like, no other company treats their workers as good as we do. It just so happened that an evil hacker got in and the system and exposed our leaks. Which one do you think they would rather go with? So now all the mainstream media, which by the way, like the mainstream media are PR shills for big corporations. And a lot of people think that the corporations are paying the journalists. No. They don't even have to pay them. In some cases, maybe they wine and dine them. Like there are cases where they legitimately take a journalist and flies them all over to Europe, and they take them to a luxurious hotel. Maybe there's some strippers involved if it's in Germany. Seriously. So obviously you're going to give a good review, right? But what usually ends up happening is the same what a lot of people who work at Rotten Tomatoes as professional critics are saying. If you start giving bad grades to movies or you give bad grades to games, the companies then blacklist you. And once you're blacklisted, well, what ends up happening is that you lose clicks. Because in the world of journalism, is not the quality of the news that matters, is not the editorial or how good you write as a journalist. No, it's all about being the first one to break the story. The first person that breaks the story gets the clicks. So companies know this. And if you're on good terms with them, they take you and they let you play some beta version of the game so you can get out an early review, or they manage to give you some keys in order to have access to a game before everyone else does, so you can manage to get those clicks. But if you give bad reviews, if you say negative things about the game, well, then they just blacklist you and you don't get the keys anymore. Like, look at Arch Warhammer. Arch Warhammer is blacklisted by Games Workshop and the people who make Total War. Why? Because he gives accurate criticisms. He legitimately says how he feels about the product. And then there are a lot of negative things that he has to say about the product. And this is why they blacklisted him. Despite the fact that he is legitimately the most popular Warhammer YouTuber on the platform. No other YouTuber that I know which speaks about Warhammer and 40k gets as many views and as many subscribers as Arch does. And despite all this, like, even though you could put out some promotional material on his channel that he would review and you'd get like a massive number of eyeballs there, they don't want to legitimize honest critics. People who legitimately just are entitled to their opinions, and they're more held to the fans than to the company. Game journalists, they view the reader as a necessary evil. Their first and foremost person that they need to please is the company, which gives them early access and early reviews and all of that perks and bonuses. So yes, like, they're not going to talk about the fact that Sony and Naughty Dog are now censoring the internet because they disagree with the opinions in the game. In fact, I seen like such a disgusting article from Forbes that I'll probably end up reading on my website, complaining that people do not appreciate the leaks. And they do not ask his Drachman for his transgender views in the game. And this is Forbes, like, we're talking about. Like, Forbes. It's not even doing like ass kissing for the company. They're doing full on damage control. It's just ridiculous. Why would they do that? If you think like a normal person, but if you think like me, a person who likes to stereotype, then you get the answer to the question. So yeah, it's very interesting, and I wonder how many people are going to buy the game after this catastrophe of a PR disaster. And what's more, they're now getting like the big YouTubers like Angry Joe to talk about it. Like, he announced he's going to make a video. So it's going to be really interesting to hear about his opinions, especially after seeing that he changed his mind a little bit about the wokeness. Like, his reviews on Picard seems to push him a little bit away. Like, he starts to understand that too much wokeness ruins the plot and the original story and can make the thing non-interesting. Like, there are levels of wokeness that are acceptable, and you can do it, like Black Panther, the movie, right? Like, you can get away with certain aspects. I think, like, when you push for like racial identity, like Black Panther, it's like Wakanda and the black ethno state and all that. Like, I think that works. But if you're trying to push for men versus women, or you try to push for these like really bizarre narratives, which I can't talk to because I might get a DMCA, then yeah, it's not going to work. Like, people aren't going to buy it. And again, like, I don't understand, like, the entitlement that companies have, like as if like they're entitled to your money. Like, you need to pay them to prove that you don't have a phobia or an ism. Or if you don't like the game because of wokeness, you should shut up. Like, how dare you speak out? How dare you, like, give us feedback and tell us why you're not buying our game? Because we're not going to change. Like, we're always going to be woke. We don't care what you do. Like, this is the mentality that they're having. It's utterly insane. Like, again, like, from a business standpoint, it doesn't make sense. If you think that all the gamers are phobic and isms, then sell them phobic and ism games so they can purchase it, you morons.